Welcome to this video. Yeah, this is the first video of a small series about the tournament that I just played on the really beautiful island of Mallorca in the Mediterranean Sea. An island very well known in Germany, at least for big tourism. Many tourists from Germany, from Britain, and so on. But there's also chess on this island, quite remarkably, and we had a tournament there that started on May 11th and lasted till last Sunday the 18th. 9 rounds, Swiss system open tournament, and yeah, I've been very satisfied with the results. Some of you may have seen the results. But what I'm going to do is I'll do a video on every round basically, besides yeah, except the last one, because it was really a really short game. But all other games were interesting and worth looking at. So I'm starting here with round 1. And yeah, as some of you may not be accustomed to the rules of those Swiss system open tournaments, how is it done? In the first round, yeah, you have all players, of course, starting with 0 points. So who is going to play each other? It's done with sorting all the players by rating, and then basically pairing the best player by rating against the player in the middle of the field. So for example, if you have in this case 200 players, which was about I don't know, we were slightly below 200, but let's for argument's sake say it's 200, then the number 1 seed would play the number 101, the number 2 seed number 102, and so on. So in my case I was seeded 33rd, I think. I played the number 133 in the tournament, and in this case it was a player from Argentina, David Lazarte, probably butchering the pronunciation. Well, he's rated 1857, so in the first round it's really a case where the favorites need to win their games, but it's not happening all the time. Just 2 boards on my right side, the Grandmaster lost against an 1900 player. It can happen. Okay, let's see what happened in this game. My opponent played e4, and of course I didn't do any preparation here, because you only know the pairing a couple of minutes before the round starts. So I didn't know what to expect really. So I played my usual 1e5, and yeah, let's see what happens. 1e5 is sometimes a bit tricky if you want to win the game, because there are some lines that are really a bit boring. So you need to be aware of those lines and try to avoid them. Okay, knight f3, knight c6, and bishop b5, the Rui Lopez. I play a6 here, and played bishop a4. So no exchange variation. Knight f6. Yeah, and now surprisingly he exchanged. This looks maybe a bit strange. Why would you play bishop a4 first and then trade? But that's not a terribly bad idea. In fact, there is another very similar line: castles, bishop e7, and now bishop takes e6. This line. This has in fact gained some popularity in recent years. For example, one of the top English players, Luke McShane, has used this to win many fine games, and it's quite interesting. The point is, Black has committed his knight to f6, which is in those kind of structures not often ideal, as Black likes to play f6. So this sort of deferred trade is not bad. What my opponent did is he also took here. Yeah, but in this case I haven't played bishop e7 yet, so this is probably a bit less precise. But in the game here it does not make much of a difference. The point is, he now plays d3, and of course, okay, I need to show briefly, he cannot take here. After queen d4 I get my pawn back easily. He played d3, but now e5 is really hanging, so I need to cover it. And the argument against this trade as he did it is of course bishop d6. I didn't do that because what I didn't want to have is him playing a quick exchange here. I mean, this is nothing that I should fear objectively, but I don't want trades so early against the weaker player. So I played knight d7, knight d2, and again bishop b6 is a fine move, but I played bishop e7 just to avoid further simplifications. And now in this case, this position, if he castles, we would have transposed to the earlier line that I showed where castles and bishop e7 is flicked in. In fact, this is, I think, the best continuation for white. He played knight c4 first, which is not bad, f6, and now castles. He didn't castle here, but played queen to e2, which I didn't like so much. This is a bit of a nothing move. It's not doing very much. And yeah, well, you want to castle a short probably anyway, so no reason to delay that. What white also could have tried is to play knight to h4. This is always an interesting idea, getting the knight to f5. Yeah, and here I need to decide what I want to do. If I allow the knight to f5, there's nothing terrible happening, but this would be again some trades coming up with maybe, oops, not this, maybe taking here or anything. I probably would have strongly considered to play g6 here just to control the f5 square. It looks a bit artificial, but okay, I don't want, as mentioned, to simplify early. Yeah, he played queen e2, however, after which I went knight c5. This is a fairly typical maneuver. What black wants to do, he wants to get the knight to e6, where it controls the important squares f4 and d4. Another good post for the knight would be c6. Yeah, like if you look at this, maybe c5, knight b8, knight c6 is the other regrouping that is also fine, but this was a bit slow, so I went knight c5, bishop d2, and knight to e6. So this is what black wants, controlling the important f4 and d4 squares where the breaks might happen with d4 for white or f4. Okay, knight e3. I didn't get this move, but it's not like leading to big problems, but it's not doing much as well. I mean, I play g6 as mentioned. I want to prevent knight f5, but knight e3 does not help white very much. And now he went h4. Yeah, probably intending to play h5, which is not a total threat at the moment as I have knight f4. Yeah? So let's say I play a nothing move, h5, this knight f4, and I'm getting this. But anyway, I decided to just block matters and play h5, so that there's simply nothing happening on the king side. What I want to do in the long run is to do something like c5, b6, bishop b7, and maybe push f5 with the right timing, or play on the queen side. Those are the ideas. And of course I always want to make sure that his breaks are not too great. Sometimes it's a good way to play just to take away the active play from your opponent, and then your active play is coming naturally. Yeah, here he sort of was fed up with dealing with knight f4 and played g3, which is understandable. Okay, a5. Yeah, my plan was to gain some space on the queen side and maybe set up with b6, bishop b7 later. And also there's maybe a4. It was a bit of a space gainer, this move, and asking white, okay, what are you going to do next? Sometimes it's just good to let the opponent do things and try to react accordingly. Yeah, well, he castled short. I guess the right decision. I mean, castling long looks weird, but castling short also, and there are some light square weaknesses, so those squares also. So something to keep in mind. Yeah, I went b6. I want to play bishop b7 and c5. The immediate c5, he might have knight d5, so I'm playing this in a very slow manner. Yeah, I think at this moment the position is still around equal. There is nothing terrible happening to white. But now he starts some active play, which I'm not sure about. Played a3. And yeah, here it's an interesting question. Black can also play a4, setting up yeah, slight bind on the queen side, so the b pawn cannot move easily. But I didn't want to do that because a3 really signals the intention to play b4, and I'm actually glad that there is something opened in the position. So he went b4, takes, and c5. And here I already felt I have a very good position as it opens up. My bishop gets is improved now. At the moment it just looks at the e4 pawn, which is safely protected, but this might change in the future with f5 maybe. And I get rid of my double pawn, which is also quite good news. So I was very satisfied at this moment. But it turns out that the position is not so bad for white. I was a bit too optimistic at this point. I was not thinking I'm winning or anything, but I thought that I already should have a slight advantage, which is maybe not the case. He played b5, which is the right choice. I guess taking on c5 would have activated my pieces far too much. Yeah, and now I go knight d4, which is a very logical choice. If white is given time, he might play c4 and knight d5, and this would have been quite unpleasant. So knight d4 is the right choice. And the main point is that here he cannot really avoid the trade of the knight on d4. He took here, c takes, and now my idea, and also the reason why I thought I'm better, is the idea is to isolate the b5 pawn. This pawn now is not protected by another white pawn, and always needs some protection by a piece, which is not really desirable. Or white plays c4, which opens up the position further. So I thought that black should be really fine here, but it turns out that matters are not so clear. The next move that he's playing, I really thought during the game that this is a terrible move, but I don't think I can really confirm this after some analysis. He now played knight g2, which at first sight admittedly looks really weird because, well, where is the knight going? Those squares are easily protected by black pawns. To e1 does not make much sense. I was completely surprised by the move. I was only expecting knight c4, as this is a much more active post. And knight c4 is the better move, but knight g2 is not as terrible as it looks. After knight c4, we can look at various lines. For example, if black now plays queen d7, trying to win the pawn, it's quite similar to the game. White has an additional possibility after this trade. Rook a1. Let's say castles. This was attacked. He's got a move like rook a7, which introduces this knight takes b6 threat. And we see that the knight is just a more active piece here compared to the knight being on g2. And it turns out that here there is quite some counterplay for white. If you look at this, for example, bishop c5 covering the b6 square. There is even the move c3, which is surprisingly interesting. It looks a bit strange because it opens up this, but there is also something positive happening for white. He's got his bishop activated. Yeah, and this isn't a clear position at all. This bishop is still looking at this protected pawn, and I mean it's probably unclear. White has these kind of ideas. Yeah, it's an interesting position. So this is somewhat better than the game, the knight to c4, but knight g2 turns out to be not so terrible as I thought. Yeah, I think the next move that I played is a bit inaccurate. I took on a1 here. It's not totally bad, but it seems that maybe queen d7 is a bit more precise, intending after this trade and rook a1 to play king f7 or to castle. and this is a bit more precise and should keep black at least a slight edge. Nothing overwhelming, but it's what I probably should have done. In the game, I mentioned I took and then played queen d7 because I thought that the rook entry on the 7th rank isn't so dangerous. I mean, it's not fatal or anything, but I underestimated one particular move, which we will see soon. Rook a7 and bishop c8. This is what I had planned. I mean, I thought that the bishop on b7 is not so great anyway because it always just looks at the pawn, and maybe there are ideas for the bishop here on the light square, so I didn't mind this retreat too much. I just thought I'd play bishop c8, bishop d6. Let's get rid of this. Play bishop d6 to cover c7 and then just grab this pawn, and I'm a pawn up and everything's nice. But I underestimated one particular idea which he fortunately did not see. Here white should have played c3, and after this move white has a really decent position. I mean, it's probably about equal at least. The problem is that what I completely underestimated is that the c3 move activates the knight. This is a very important feature of the position. If I take now, bishop takes, there is this knight e3 to d5 idea, which now has gained in strength enormously as the bishop is on c8 and cannot just take the knight off on d5. So this is not very convenient. It is in fact possible that bishop d8 here is the somewhat more precise move, and after, let's say, takes, queen takes, I'm just covering this here, and now maybe castling rook f8, a move like that. It's not clear, this position. I mean, if you look at this, castles, he's got knight d5, yeah. Here, maybe rook f8, rook f7 or something. I mean, it's probably about equal, this position, and white can certainly fight on with confidence. It's nothing terrible happening to him, but unfortunately for me, he did not see the c3 move or this idea, and went for f4. This is in fact what I expected, but as I also underestimated the c3 idea, but f4 is really getting white into big trouble. The problem is now I played this bishop d6 move, which I had intended anyway, and now, well, his king side is so weak, g4, h3, g3, and he does not really gain anything from f4, while b5 is still pretty much weak. He went f5, sorry, rook a8 first, rook a8 first. I castled and f5. This was his idea, but the simple fact is that it does not lead to anything. Black has multiple ways now to get a great advantage. I played queen to g7 in this position, which is okay. The easier way to play is probably to take on f5, but I didn't see that, or let's say I saw that, but I thought queen g7 is just as good. Queen here, and now queen f7 or queen h7. Those moves are very good for white, for black. I'm sorry, very good for black. The thing is, why is this so good for black? I've got the two bishops. He's got very bad pieces, especially the knight on g2. And for example, if you look at this position, yeah, here, at first you think, okay, let's count it, 5 against 5, but black is flat out winning as the b pawn will fall. There's bishop d7 and takes on b5, and this pawn on b5 is totally isolated. He has absolutely no way to cover it, so I'm winning this pawn, and at the end I'm having the bishop pair plus an extra pawn, which is just winning outright. I played queen d7. This is about the same. I'm just attacking on f5. And, well, white cannot really take here. Queen g6. Look at this. g3 is weak. I've got the bishop coming. And I still have bishop d7 takes b5. So it's just overwhelming for black. He went oops, he went queen f3, probably intending to play some kind of check here in case I capture. I played bishop d7, however. Taking was also possible, but this is easier. I think I'm playing this okay here. Bishop d7, attacking on b5 and initiating the trade, which happened. And now he played c4. Yeah, and here I made a mistake, really, because I played the next move far too quickly. All the time, I was always thinking that if he plays c4, of course, I'm just going to take it to still be able to win the b5 pawn. However, I mean, I captured, and it should win as well, but it was easier here to stop for a moment and then just take on f5. This is much quicker, because what is white doing now? I mean, I saw this move, but I thought that queen h5 was a bit of a problem, threatening bishop h6. This capture is no problem at all, as I just play queen h7 and win the pawn. This is in fact a very easy win. So this was the problem, and if I just had spent a couple of seconds more on this, I probably would have seen that f4 is just totally killing white. He cannot take because bishop g4 traps the queen. It's quite funny. And this basically means that I'm threatening queen g3, which he cannot prevent at all. White absolutely has no move here. My next move will be queen takes g3. And this would have won very easily and quickly. Okay, I took here. And what I didn't really appreciate, and why this is a bit more tricky now, is that he has this move d4. And my king position is a bit shaky here on f8. There's nothing really terrible happening, but I felt a bit uncomfortable during the game because, well, I kept thinking, well, I mean, this was like looking like a totally easy win, and now my king is somewhat uncomfortable. But it seems that it's nothing really terrible happening. Well, I took there after some thought. Bishop takes. Please note that the times here are just given by ICC by default. It's nothing related to the game. The whole tournament was played at a very quick time control. We had 90 minutes, 1.5 hours, for the whole game, and a 30-second increment from move 1. So this was a really quick time control, and by the time we had here in this game, move 30, my opponent was down to very little time, 3 minutes or something. Well, I had like 10 or 15 minutes. So it was a rather convenient situation on the clock in terms of me having a time advantage. But you also don't have, yeah, well, 10 minutes is nice to have if the opponent has 3, but still sometimes you wish to have more to really work out a clean win. And sometimes you simply couldn't do that at the time. You just need to dash out moves. Yeah, here, for example, I played g5. Which is not terrible, but g takes f5 was easier. It didn't occur to me during the game because it opens up even more. But the thing is, if he takes here, I have this strong move, bishop d7. And yeah, well, this is basically a hopeless endgame against the bishops, an extra pawn, and there are two protected, or two passes, connected passes, you know, protected passes. So g takes f would have been a bit easier, but I played g5, not terrible. But what I wanted to do is to keep the king a bit safer. And queen takes h5, bishop g3 is the right continuation here. Now I'm threatening to take on h4, so he took, and I took with the queen. Yeah, this is what I had calculated when I played g5, and I thought I should be winning. Probably true, but it's already a bit more tricky than was really necessary. And we will see that he will get some chances still in this game. Yeah, he traded queens now, and now he really committed a mistake. What white should do now is play knight to e3, covering f5 and intending e5, getting the knight to d5. the best continuation now. He played bishop f6, and the problem is that now I have bishop d3, and I will win the e4 pawn and get to this type of structure, which is of course very favorable for black with the two connected passes and the bishops against the lone f5 pawn. So this should have been a really easy win now, but what I did is not too precise in one moment. Of course, at the time I also only had very little time on the clock, but still it was a mistake. Played this one, and now he went f6. Yeah, which is not really great, but this was an alternative to keep the pawn for a moment. But this is also a winning endgame in the long run. Just need to be precise. He played f6. The problem with this move is it just exposes this pawn. Of course, I cannot take here because
check.
He at the end will win my pawns. But it's still such a weakness, this pawn, that it's not recommended. Played king e6. That's okay. Knight g4, bishop d4, bishop e3. And here I made a mistake really, but I overlooked something. The easiest now is to just take on e3, and this wins pretty easily. Going here, and then next take the pawn. It's a very simple win. I pretty much automatically played bishop c3, just keeping the bishops. I thought there is no need to trade, but it has a drawback, a tactical drawback, which I didn't see at all. And he also didn't see it. We both didn't have much time. White can now put up some resistance with the interesting move f7. What's the idea? Yeah, the idea is, well, I probably have to take it, right? Take it, and then he plays bishop f4. And the interesting point is that if I now save my c-pawn, which looks very normal, let's say I play c5, he has the move knight e5, and here in this position I have two connected passes, but it's also opposite colored bishops. And of course there are some setups that actually do draw the game against even two connected passes. So this, I don't know, it would have been still a bit tricky to face. In fact, it's maybe an idea to just jettison this pawn and activate the king, bishop here, and then let's say bishop back, and then march the b pawn. Two bishops against a single knight is a win. It's not totally trivial, but it is a win in the long run. Yeah, very tough. This would have been very inconvenient if he found that, but well, he didn't have any time on the clock and played bishop c5. And now everything's easy again. Bishop f5, and now I'm just winning the pawn for nothing. Yeah, we had this trade, and after king e5 he resigned. With bishops of the same color, the two connected passes are a very simple win. I just go there and then push the pawns. It's quite easy to win. So this wasn't a completely easy game. Even at the end there were some inaccurate moves, but it's really tough sometimes with those very quick time controls where you need to decide quickly on moves, and can sometimes overlook those kind of resources like this f7 move here, which I completely overlooked. And what is really important is that this kind of endgame here can be very tricky. If we look at this, let's say put this on the board, yeah. How is black going to win this? Yeah, I'm controlling this square, and let's say black is advancing here further. Yeah, okay, this is in fact a total draw, like this and this. Okay, so this is a very stupid way to try. When maybe go here, something like this, for example. White is always keeping c3 covered 2 times, and any breakthrough with c4, c3 is answered by the piece sacrifice on c3. So this, for example, is a draw. Yeah, there is absolutely no way to get any to make any headway here. Black can try to run over to the d3 square, let's say, like this, maybe. I cannot go here, and then that's a bit of a silly place here. And yeah, now you go here, and c4 is answered by bishop b4. So there are many drawing ideas against the 2 connected passers. So it would have been very uncomfortable to face, and probably I would have really needed to avoid this and play king e6 here. And God knows if I would have won that. So a bit of a soft spot in this game. I could have gained some drawing chances. So at the end I started with a win. Very important at the first round not to stumble. And yeah, it was an interesting game. Nevertheless, despite the big rating difference, you have to work hard to win those kind of games. It's really a big difference nowadays to let's say 20 years ago, where those big rating differences at times really led to totally one-sided games. It still can happen, but very often the weaker players can put up some stiff resistance. As mentioned, just two boards on my right side, a grandmaster was really completely wiped off the board by a 1900 player, and there was no cheating involved or anything. It was just a good game by the weaker player, at least on paper. All right, I hope you enjoyed the coverage of this first round, and I'll be back just tomorrow with the game from the second round. Thanks for watching.